After her parents divorced, Amanda lost touch with her father, Frank, and never met her grandfather, Frank Holden Sr., who died in 1983, aged 71.
Hello.
Lovely to see
Lovely
you.
to see you.
Amanda's arranged to meet her uncle George, her father's brother. George has brought Frank Sr.'s photo albums with him.
Oh, look at him there.
He used to do the singing and dancing and entertaining.
Because I've always wondered where this
Theatrical.
theatre side of me has come from.
Yeah.
And so it's obviously come from the Holden.
The Holden family, because
Side.
both his brothers were entertainers.
All I know, very sadly, about Frank Sr. is that, you know, I got a phone call from my mum to say that he'd taken his own life. And that's just, you know, it's heartbreaking.
A lot of people were devastated. I'd never met anybody who had a bad word to say against him.
Mm. Gosh, this is very
They're
precious.
getting a bit old and fragile.
No, it's just nice
you
to
can
have,
see.
isn't it?
Well,
Oh, wow. So this is, what year is this, do you know?
That'll be about 1942, during the war.
What did he do in the army?
He was in the Royal Army Medical Corps. He was a psychiatric nurse. He, obviously, with his nursing training from before the war, he was very well qualified. When he started, obviously, he was a nothing, a private, and he ended up as a regimental sergeant major, which is the highest non-commissioned rank you can get. So he really pulled it up through the ranks.
Gosh, he's very handsome. He's like a movie star there.
Now, you see this person here, covered in oil.
Is that oil, not blood?
Oil and water. That's your granddad.
What is he doing?
He was shipwrecked.
Really? Shipwrecked? In the 1940s, was this?
Yes, 1940, exactly, June 1940.
What was the name of the ship he was on?
He was on a Lancastria.
I've never heard of that.
No, I don't suppose you have. It's one of these things that was kept very quiet during the war.
OK.
He used to get quite emotional about it, and that was unusual for my dad, because he was a very calm and collected guy.
But look at him, he's
Dishing out a pot of tea to us.
dishing out tea. He literally just nearly drowned at that point, and now he's giving tea to everybody.
He used to say to my brother and I, you know, you've never been in the Navy until you've been shipwrecked.
So I learnt an awful lot about Frank Sr. then, but I think the most poignant and interesting was the fact that he was shipwrecked. So I think I need to find out, or go and find his army records, I suppose. Look up the Lancastria.
Amanda has an appointment at the Aldershot headquarters of the Royal Army Medical Corps with their historian, Captain Peter Starling.
So, Peter, I'm learning about my paternal grandfather, Frank Holden Sr. I know he was a nurse, and I know he joined the army, and that's about it, really.
Did you ever meet him? Or?
I didn't know him. No, I didn't know anything about him at all.
He was obviously a very exceptional psychiatric nurse.
Dear sir, I have pleasure in informing you that you qualified for the Campbell Clark Medal and Prize. Your medal is being engraved and will be forwarded with a cheque for 3 guineas in the near future.
This medal, which is awarded for the person gaining top marks in his examination.
Oh, wow. In the country?
And yes, he's going to be quite sought after.
See, this is what interests me, because I didn't know. I thought that post-traumatic stress syndrome and, you know, mental health care with the army and all our armed forces was a relatively new idea, and that they just kind of told you to get on with it back then.
No, not by the time that we're looking at here, approaching the Second World War. It was after the First World War, really, with all the soldiers suffering from shell shock, that they realised that this isn't cowardice, it's not lack of moral fibre, it's a hidden wound. And we needed male nurses, needed doctors who were trained to look after our psychiatric cases.
So he would have been snapped up.
So he would have been snapped up. Now, the war clouds are looming, aren't they, through
Yeah.
the summer of 1939?
Yes.
And eventually, Britain declares war on Germany.
In September.
And I don't know if you can read this here. It says...
Mobilised.
Yeah,
1st of September, 1939.
And then underneath it,
BEF?
British Expeditionary Force.
Frank Holden was one of the first members of the British Expeditionary Force sent to France in September 1939 to protect Western Europe from German invasion. He joined a team of about 200 medics, known as a field ambulance. On the 10th of May, 1940, Germany invaded, unleashing blitzkrieg, lightning war, quickly overwhelming Allied forces. Nursing orderlies like Frank were the frontline medics of their day and would have been in the thick of the action.
26th of May 1940 is the crucial date. The British Army is being pushed back by the Germans towards the French coast at Dunkirk. And as you know, this big flotilla of ships goes over there and rescues the British Army.
Yes.
But look at this date here. That's the 26th of May 1940. But if you look at Frank's date, he doesn't leave France to the 20th.
Till June.
Yes.
So where was he?
Trapped south of Dunkirk in Saint-Nazaire. There's thousands more British soldiers that are there in this little enclave.
So he was left behind?
He was left behind.
So I know that Frank was shipwrecked. Could it have been a ship that was trying to get him home that was actually shipwrecked? The Lancastria?
There's nothing in his record here that says he was on the Lancastria or that he was shipwrecked.
There's no clue. If you didn't know, you wouldn't know.
No.
It looks like I'm going to have to go back to France.
I think so.
Brittany.
I think if you go to Brittany, you might find, hopefully, something else about it.